Welcome to the 7 Key Flows Unlocked video series. I'm going to walk you through and teach you these hidden flows that are inside the PMP that once you see them will change the game and make you a question-solving machine. Let's get into it. So, right off the bat, the secret to your success, your PMP success, whether you know it or not, is how you figure out what matters most. Flows simplify everything, and there are 7 that we're going to walk through. All right, here are the 7 key flows. Number 1, the initiation flow. Then we're going to go into the baselines. This is the heart of project management, the heart of the flows. Then we're going to go into risk. Very important, helps frame up how we lead the project going forth. As we go forth, we got the procurement. Most people are scared and don't understand this procurement world. We're going to simplify it. We're going to lay out the flow. Now, the deliverables, how they get generated, how they get evaluated, where they flow. We're going to know that. 6th, we're going to talk about information, data, analysis, information, where it flows, where it goes. And lastly, change. Change is a big deal. Let's jump into the first one. Okay, before we jump into the initiating process flow, I'm going to teach you the 3 questions that I use to uncover and really understand deeply these flows. Number 1, what do we need to accomplish? Now, as we understand that North Star question, we go deeper. We say, how would we do it? And lastly, what would help us achieve it? Like what raw materials, what situation to help us drive all the way through? Let me start off with the number 1 question. What do we need to accomplish? So we're getting the process going. Maybe in our scenario, somebody comes and says, hey, we'd like you to lead this project. Go forth. If you're saying, okay, I'm following this initiating flow, what do we need to accomplish? One of the big things that we have to do at the beginning of the project is get clear alignment. We're going to get alignment with whom? We're going to get alignment with that sponsor. What exactly we're delivering on this project. Understand alignment with the sponsor, and then eventually understand what the whole landscape of the stakeholders is. All right, so what do we need to do to get there? Now, right off the bat, you might say, what's the purpose here? What are we trying to produce? What's the benefit that we expect to get? And so by asking those questions, in a sense, what you're really doing is you're asking for, hey, give me the business case. And so the business case creates clear alignment on what the benefits are and how we're going to get them, in a sense. Like it's money, it's defect reduction, it's customer satisfaction improvement, whatever. Now, inside of that business case, starting this flow out, you're going to have certain assumptions. You might have mathematical models and projections and tables and things that say this is what we expect the growth to be and different rates, etc. But it's going to get you an understanding of what people perceive to be the benefit of this project. Good, you're aligned to that now. Now, additionally, if I give you a project that says, hey, we're going to invest $1 million, all right, cool. And then we're going to get $1.5 million back. So profit in a sense of $500,000. Awesome, sounds great. What else might you ask at that point? What I'm leading to here is in our benefits management plan, we might be saying, okay, we say we're going to get $500,000 back in return. Great. Now, does it come $500,000 the day we finish? What is the situation? How are we going to reap our benefits? Who's going to be able to evaluate it? When and how? And how are we going to validate all that, that we've actually improved? So all that stuff at the beginning is getting clear alignment, because at the end, someone's going to ask for a return. The customer's going to come, the sponsor's going to come, and they're going to say, give me what I asked for. And so we got to set ourselves up right now to be prepared for that in the future. So with that, we're ready to start going into this game. So we take that in there, we take the information from that, we start building our charter in Develop Project Charter. We start putting down what's the problem statement potentially, milestones, constraints, etc. We fill it out. Now, as we go through there, we might pitch it around to different stakeholders and get their input. But at the end of the day, we got to have that sponsor alignment. Remember, they sign it and that's done. All right. So you got clear alignment, what we want, right? That's going to be the approved project charter. Awesome. Now, think about it. It's not only just about the sponsor. We got a whole landscape. We got a team. We got stakeholders, all these people that are affected by our project. So let's think about alignment and understanding and engagement of them. And to further deepen our understanding and our engagement, we're going to create what we call an assumptions log. These are the foundational assumptions that we're basing our project off. Now, as we go forth, as we go down, we see right here, it goes down to stakeholder. We don't want to go just like run the project, plan the project, stuff like that. We want to say, hey, let me be respectful and cognizant of what's going on in the stakeholder world. So we're going to identify stakeholders. A stakeholder is anybody who's impacted by the project. So that's great. So we start building up what we call a stakeholder register. Big, long list with a bunch of stakeholders on it. Okay. Now, what are we doing here? We're setting ourselves up to be able to engage them correctly, use them, leverage them, manage with them in the future well. So that's flow number one. That was fun. Let's go into flow number two. Okay, flow number two. We need to define at a granular, deep level what we're trying to accomplish in this project. So as we go through here, I want you to see these three baseline sections as the heart, as the soul of the project. And it starts with the scope. All right. This is where we take what we could do for the project to what we will do in detail. All right. Then we go down to schedule and we figure out how we're going to get it done. Scope is nouns. Person, place, or thing. Now, when we get into the schedule, we're talking verbs. Dig the hole, lay the foundation. And lastly, cost. We're going to do this while we're doing the schedule. It's back and forth, right? So that is how we're getting the three baselines. So the flow through there, top to bottom. Now, here as we go through here, we're going to talk about each one of them. Now, what we want to do now is bring in all those stakeholders and say, what could we do? For two reasons. We want to have the best project that's going to deliver exactly what we need and all the details and know all that. And we also got to start engaging and working with our stakeholders. Great way to do it is working through all the requirements, okay? So we're going from 5.2 down to 5.3 as we flow. 5.3, this is called define scope. And what we do here is we take what we will do and we write it down into a statement. And it's called, you might want to guess it, scope statement. All right. Now with the scope statement, could be a couple lines, a couple paragraphs, but we're being very clear about what we're delivering, what the objective is, what we're delivering. The scope is this. And we're also saying what we're not producing. So we're laying that down. So that's component one of our scope baseline. As we have that, we can't just go and start building the activities off that scope statement. We got to go down deeper, okay? So we're going to take that scope statement and we're going to put it into what we call a work breakdown structure. A work breakdown structure takes the top level requirement, what we're doing, and breaks it down, decomposing it down in more granular details down till we get to the work package level so that people understand these are quantifiable chunks of work that can be planned too. Great. All right. Now, the work breakdown structure breaks it down visually. You can see it as kind of like a organizational chart looking design, you know, from top to bottom, pyramid shape in a sense. Now we have a WBS dictionary that we create, and that just puts the details to each work package and each component of the WBS. Got to realize each component of WBS is going to have a number. They're going to have a numbering system because it's going to be big. It's going to be complicated, right? And we're going to have to work off of it. So we want to keep everything aligned. So the numbering system there, WBS works top to bottom, big long document that's got all the details to the requirements. So when we get to the bottom here, we have the scope baseline. We know exactly what we're doing and not doing. We got the scope statement, WBS dictionary. That's what we got. Now, I want you to see a line between 5.4 and 6.2. Now, we're developing the scope baseline, and then our flows, we start kicking off the activities in the cost neighborhood, okay? And we're going to jump over that line, and now we're going to ask ourselves, I know what we're doing, how are we going to do it? And how much is that going to cost? Those things play together. So we're starting both those trains, the cost and the schedule at the same time. So what are we going to do? We're going to take those activities down in 6.2. We're going to take the work packages down and we're going to break it out into activities. We're going to say, hey, we have to produce this work package. It's a specific thing. This is the wiring arrangement or whatever. It's a noun, okay? Now, how do we get there? And you might ask your subject matter experts, whoever, to say, what are the activities that are going to get us to produce that output. Now, they're going to make a big long list of activities. So what do we do right up? The activity list. Big long list of all the activities that take it. Now, as we go into that, there's going to be detail to it. So that's the activity attributes. What's the relationship between this activity and that activity? Do you have to do this one before that one? All those granular details you get into with the attributes. Now, we have those two things and we keep going out and saying, hey, sure, there's some milestones we got to hit. Got to be done by Christmas. We lay those milestones out so that when we start building our schedule, we can lay those milestones across it to see if they meet the milestones. Now, as we go forth, we're going to go down, use all those activities. We know the relationships between things. Now we're going to build the diagram, the schedule. Fancy words for project schedule network diagram. Now, if we look down a little bit deeper, the next process, durations. It says estimate activity duration. So we take duration estimates for all our activities and we start putting them into our schedule. So what's going to happen to the activities, those little stickies? They're going to get bigger or smaller. And as all these things start to go in, all the estimates go into the schedule, the whole schedule is going to flex like an accordion, right? And so every estimate that we do, we're going to have a basis of estimate because someone's going to challenge you. Why did you think that's going to take 2 weeks? So we have a basis of estimates for that duration estimate. All right, so as we go to the bottom, we're going to start challenging our schedule. Do we use these resources? Do we use another sort of resources? Start challenging our estimates and our schedule will continue to fluctuate and, move livingly. And we also are going to push the reality of it. That's what we call our schedule baseline. Now, we're also going to have the formal schedule. That's the actual thing that we would print out, hand it to people, say, this is what we're doing. And we're evaluating ourselves every day. Okay. Now, inside of that, we know that things are going to happen. We need to understand the key project calendars, when people are available, when resources are available, so that when we start to move things around, that we know if they actually are available. That's what the calendar, it's kind of like your Outlook calendar in your computer, okay? Now, as we go through, we also have the schedule data. Task A starts here, should finish by here, all that granular detail. As we're doing this, we're also doing cost estimates on these activities. So this section is being layered in to our scheduling. So we're doing cost estimates. And anytime we do estimates, we have a basis of estimates as well, okay? We are trying to figure out what it's going to cost, and we're going to make negotiations. Ooh, we use this material, we use that material, we use this great resource. We're just playing with it to make the schedule happen. Now, lastly, as we go through here, we're going to have a schedule baseline. What is the money that's going to be spent at what time over time, right? And that's all related back to the schedule. That's where we get the cost baseline. And from that, we're going to know this is when we need the money. So we're going to ask the management for the actual capital to be available. So that's the project funding requirements. It's usually that stair step that looks like. All right, so that's flow number 2. All right, so as we see it right here, we can show, I just want to show you that, boom, we hit that scope baseline. And then think about this, the activities, the costs, the resources. I didn't show it because it's the same kind of conversation. All those things start relatively at the same time. And it's a negotiation between two to get to that perfect schedule, that perfect cost curve. All right, so we're not done with planning. Risk flow, number 3, one of my favorites. We're going to visualize it so that we can see exactly what happens. All right, so I visualize it as a funnel. Now, the first thing we do with the plan, that just tells us how we're going to go about and do it. That's our instruction manual. So now identify risks. That's what we're doing, constantly pulling in risks that are related to scope, schedule, quality, cost. So we roll down next into perform qualitative risk analysis. Now, what that does is we take a rough cut, an understanding right now of what the probability and impact is with each risk. All right, now, when we do that, we're going to see them on this basic chart. This is a probability versus impact matrix, okay? So probabilities up and down, impacts to the side. We have threats on one side, opportunities on the other. You can see little dots popping up all around here, and we'll be able to rank our risks that way. The things in that darker section, as we see this probability impact matrix, those are the ones that we really want to focus on first. Next, we get into the quantitative. So we're going to go deeper, numerically into understanding the real costs of each high-level risk. And we also want to understand how each individual risk affects the entire risk profile of the project. And we're going to get sensitivity analysis. That's where each one of these risks is ranked by the amount of correlation or relationship it has to producing an output. Like at the bottom here, it's duration. So the schedule length. this is what we're getting. Looks like an S curve for the cost baseline, doesn't it? It's different. What it's saying is this is the overall risk profile. You get this through Monte Carlo analysis. Monte Carlo analysis, we're just running a lot of occurrences of all the risk. What if all the bad things happened? So as we know now, we go from the qualitative to the quantitative. Then at the end, we got a really good understanding of what the big risks are and opportunities. And we're going to dive down at the bottom into this risk response plans. These are the distinct things that we're doing to address those risks and opportunities. All right. And we have a risk owner. We have trigger conditions that tell us we know this risk is happening. Then we have, plans against them, risk response plans. First thing, contingencies, backups. So that's what we're doing with the risks there. So we know exactly what we should be focusing on. And what we go through here is we're going to talk about selecting the ideal strategy for those risk responses. Now, there's threats and there's opportunities. Good news stuff, bad news stuff. Now, when you have threats, when you're picking these risk responses, you could escalate it, bring it up to a higher power that can help us out. We could avoid it, meaning we're going to change the actual plan to avoid these risks. Or we could transfer. That's where you hire or you get insurance or something where you transfer, take the risk and put it on somebody else and you pay for it to limit the risk for you, okay? Or mitigate it, that's tweak, adjust, do something to lessen the impact. And then accept. We're just going to take it on the chin, man. Not a big deal. We're resilient. We got project resilience. We can deal with this. We're just going to take it on the chin. Now, on the opportunity side, there's 5 as well. We could escalate as well. We could exploit. We could dive into it, direct our ship into those good times to make sure that we get it. And then share. We could partner with somebody to make sure they do this well. We want to make sure we take advantage of this. Enhance, tweak the project to get to that benefit, or accept. We're just going to take this good news right on us. So as we go through here, okay? All right, so that is number 3. Now, I told you that risk starts early and it keeps going all the way through. I like to visualize stuff. I want you to visualize stuff. So I want you to see this guy having 2 people on his shoulder, a risk guy and a knowledge person. So a devil and an angel, whatever you call him. All right, like he has here. So the risk guy's right there through the entire project saying, ooh, that's going to go bad. What could go bad? Oh, that's going to bite us in the butt. Now, also, there's this managed project knowledge here. That's that angel on your shoulder that's saying, let's use the things in the past to navigate our project in a good way, to plan it out. Or we had a mistake. Let's record it. That'll be very helpful for instructing us in the future or other project. Or that went awesome. Let's write it down so we can teach other people. Number 4, we're still in planning, guys. We're still in planning. You guys want to work. I want to go through flows. Now, in developing our schedule and doing all that stuff, we're going to have certain situations where we go, might not be the best thing for us to do it. Let's get somebody who's an expert to do this thing, okay? We might transfer certain activities over there, and we might have to use procurement, okay? So when we get into procurement, there are 3 procurement processes in this flow. Our flows up to this point have been going down. Hold your horses. We're going sideways now, guys, all right? So plan procurement, conduct procurements, and control procurements. Now, each one of these, there are 2 things that are accomplished. Like, what are we in the game to do? That's the first question we always ask. What are we trying to accomplish? We're trying to accomplish 2 things for each process. Let's see what they are. Now, for the first one, plan procurement, we got to have an overall strategy and approach for how we do procurements in our company. And secondly, we're going to prepare ourselves to select the perfect contractor later. Okay, so what's all the details we have to get ready so that we can do that at a later time? This is a legal document, so we got to have our T's and I's crossed, right? All right, so go back to the approach and strategy. Right off the bat, how are we going to deal with all procurements? What's the how-to manual for all the procurements? Procurements is a no mess around neighborhood, all right? We can't wing these things. That's how we go to either jail permanently or we get in trouble with our companies, all right? So we do not want to go to court. We want to follow the processes that the company has, all right? Now, additionally, how we get into the procurement process flow here is we've made a make or buy decision during planning our project. We've said it makes more sense to go and acquire resources, materials, support, whatever, from the outside. And we're going to work that into our schedule. All right. Now, so we've made a make-buy decision. Cool. Now we have a strategy for that individual thing that we're purchasing. Now, if you're just getting a couple little labor, you're doing time and materials contract, that's one kind of strategy. If you're doing an overall, 1/3 of the assembly for this big thing that you're producing, that's a different kind of strategy for how we're going to do it. So we can have a unique strategy for each individual procurement. Makes sense, right? Now, as we go through, let's get ready to think through what do we have to do to prepare to select the contractors. Now, the first thing, to get bids in and select bids, we got to tell them exactly what we want. Now, we need to create, we can't just go out and say, hey, make us this, please guys do it. We got to have it in formal legal documents, bid documents, okay? Now, we got to think through, is an RFI, information, quote, RFQ, or proposal. What are we looking for? What is the format we're going to get it back in, all right? RFI, Q, or P. Additionally, what's the vehicle, the contract vehicle that we're going to use? Cost reimbursable, fixed costs, or time and materials. Just makes a difference on the different scenario that you have for what you're trying to do. So we got to make those decisions, okay? Now, once we have that nailed down, we're going to build these documents, fill in the details, work with people to build them out, and we're ready to go almost. Now, what else we have to do? We got to say, how are we going to make a decision? We're hoping that a lot of people bid in. They're great, but how are we going to make a decision on what's best for us? Now, the other thing is we could have an independent cost estimate. We could put the documents out to a third party. We could say, bid it like you're bidding it for real. Give us what you think it costs, what the timing is, what the risk, whatever, and we get an independent cost estimate. That's going to help us evaluate the bids as we come in to see if they are, relatively on pace. Now, as we move over to the second process, we're doing two things. We are going out, getting the bids, selecting the ideal contractor. All right, then getting them to work. It's in executing. That's what we're doing. We're getting them going. Awesome. So let's go back to ideal contractor. All right, you got to advertise. They got to know about this. Put it on the website, trade publication, send it out to our most commonly used vendors, whatever it is. Now, as they advertise, we might have a bidder conference. We might have to go through and, hey, we really want you to understand these details. Bring everybody in, objectively give them clear information, no playing favorites, no partnering or anything. All right, and so when they get the bids in, we evaluate them. We're going to make a decision. We pick one. All right, now the fun starts. And we negotiate. Somebody negotiates. Like contracts or the legal people or the procurement people, whoever it is, negotiate, cut the deal, get it done. Selected seller down there. Now, the selected seller, we sign the deal. It's a legally binding arrangement right now. They get rolling, Jack. So we have an agreement and they start working on the project. Awesome, per the letter of the law that we laid down. Now, they're working, they're going. What do we need to do next, okay? What we need to do next is we need to figure out how they're doing, right? Just like we do in any other monitoring controlling process, we evaluate progress, plan versus actual. So we evaluate project, and then when we get to the end and we accept everything, we're going to close it out. Now, as we evaluate, how would we do that? We do inspections, we audit. They might be called out in the contract. We might just go out there occasionally. Whatever it is, we're going to go out there and look. We're going to check. We're going to verify. We can do different types of analysis, just like we do in monitoring controlling, guys. We could do performance analysis, EVA, earned value analysis. We could do trend analysis. We're going to understand deeper. And also, we're going to have problems. Occasionally, hope not, but maybe we have problems. We're going to know how we deal with the claims. When we get to the end of this procurement, we've looked at it, we evaluated it, we've got to walk through it and make sure that we're okay. And we also, with everything they give us, we also have to update all our procurement documents, make sure those are all updated. And in order for it to be closed, we got to do just like we're going to do with the sponsor. They walk us through it. They show us what they've done. We evaluate it against our statement of work and our contract. If we don't accept it, claims. If we go, we work it out. If we do accept it, we accept the deliverable, sign off, make sure all the paperwork's done, everything's closed out per the contract. We bring it back on our site and we make sure everybody's paid. And that's awesome. All right, so 5. This is deliverable. This is a really fun one. Loopy goopy here, right? All right, so where do we get the work done here? All these processes, big white screen. I know I don't have anything in there. Where do we actually do the work of the project? Where does that happen? Now, it happens right there. That one process is the factory of factories. That's where the people are in there cranking away on the schedule that you defined. Awesome. Now, we produce a couple things by that process. We produce deliverables. That's what we're trying to get through. The deliverables. Think about the house example. We're producing, we're laying the foundation, we're putting up the framing, we're doing all that stuff. We're making the windows look pretty. the deliverables. We're also producing data, work performance data on a daily basis. This is the work report. This is the work we've completed. Here's what the quality kind of specs that we put out. Here's what we spent. Here's the schedule, relationships that we've put together. Here's who showed up for work, didn't show up for work. Here's who got hurt, blah, blah, blah. All this data facts that are there. And thirdly, change requests. Things are going to go bad. We're going to see it as we do the work. We can put in change request. Right now, we're going to talk about one of those deliverables. We'll talk about the next later. We're going to talk about deliverables. That's the one we're talking about now. They did a good job in this factory. They start popping out these deliverables. Bang, bang. They're looking good, man. All right, so what those do is we don't want to just send those straight to the customer, all right? We want to do a little, and we've been looking at them while we go and manage quality, but we want to do a thorough quality analysis ourselves, all right? We're going to look through it before it goes to the customer, and that's control quality. So that flow goes to there. Deliverable goes into control quality. That's where we internally are going to use our quality standards, and we're going to use everything that we've defined as far as the scope requirements and the traceability matrix, and we're going to look through everything, do a walkthrough ourselves, and see if it meets the muster or not. All right, so if it passes, it's called a verified deliverable. Now, we have verified it. That's what we're talking about. And it flows up to validate scope. That's where Mr. or Mrs. Sponsor comes in, or customer comes in, and we go, we'd love to walk you through it. You're going to love it. I can't wait to show it to you. And we walk them around the deliverable. We look at all the requirements. We look at what the scope is, what the quality is. We have some information that we provide them. Hey, look at the quality statistics that we put together, all these reports. Looks beautiful. You're going to love it. I told you. And we have this verified deliverable that comes into validate scope. Now, if they say, yes, we like it, it becomes an accepted deliverable. They accept it. That makes sense, okay? And then what we do is we go over there and put it in the close project or phase process. Basically, we're putting it on a shipping dock. We're not sending it out to the customer yet, but we're saying this one, they've accepted, put it over there. It's brothers and sisters. Those deliverables will go through the process and they'll sit over there. Once we get them all done, we'll close out the project and send it out. So that's awesome. All right. Now, information flow as we go here. I love this one, okay? So information flow, we need to think about where we are, all right? So when we go into monitoring and controlling as we're doing these deliverables, do we just assume and hope that everything goes well? No, no, we don't, all right? When we're in all these monitoring and controlling process groups, the mantra that I want you to nail into your brain and understand is we constantly check for plan versus actual. That's it. That's the big thing you got to know. Monitoring and controlling should be called plan versus actual in a sense, all right? I've got another name for it that I'm going to give you in a second. But we check plan versus actual by doing data analysis. We're going to look at what's actually happening, what we thought was what should be happening, and we're going to get a realization, all right? So in order to do that analysis, what do we need? What do we need to do analysis? Think about it, all right? We need something to analyze. It seems pretty obvious, right? We need some raw materials, some facts. And then what do we also need? We need something to compare against. Because we're not just analyzing those facts, we're comparing it against something, and those are our baselines. Now, we're going to talk about the different methods that you use to analyze, but basically, if we got the data, which are the facts, we got the baselines, which we compare again, we got the analysis methods, we got this thing beat, right? We know exactly how we're going to check our progress as we go through. So that's awesome. Now, as we go down here, I want to talk about what's happening. Now, we are in plan versus actual land, right? That's monitoring and controlling. So what feeds into it? Now we know direct and managed project work, that's where we produce all our deliverables. But more importantly, right here with the information flow, we're producing data, facts, details related to it. And the way I want you to see it, because I need you to see it and feel it, guys. I need you to see all those facts right there. Now the realization is there. It's just hard to get to. So what do we need to do? We got to go to all these processes: control scope, control schedule, control cost, quality, all the way down to monitor stakeholder engagement. It's either a control or monitor leads into these processes. Basically what we're doing is looking about what reality is versus what we thought it should be, the plan. And we're saying, what's going on? Is it bad? Do we need to do something? So while we go through that, the way we get that realization that aha is we do data analysis. So I said that monitoring controlling could be called plan versus actual. It could also be called aha. Now I see. That would be a little bit longer name, but I like that name better. So what we're trying to get to is that aha, okay, through data analysis. Now, the way to visualize that, see that guy. See that guy. That's the guy doing his analysis with the computer, and he's working through it and he's making sense of it. Each one of those processes, I like to think of everything as a factory. Each individual factory, control scope, control schedule, whatever. Now, each one of those factories only pulls the data that's related to it. So control cost pulls the cost related data, and it does its analysis that way. All right. And it pops out information, realizations relative to cost. Same thing happened for the person that does it for scope or for risk or for stakeholder engagement. You learn that section. That's what they're doing. They're getting a realization in that section, and they're specialized. And that information that they produce is valuable because we know. So that's cool. So the common data analysis techniques that all these people use, they don't use them all, but we need to know them. We don't have to memorize the details of like which ones are used there right off the bat. We just need to understand what are they. Now, it could be variance analysis. Now, what that means is we plan to be here, we're actually here. There's a difference called a variance. What's up with the variance? Why? Is it bad? Do we need to do something? That's variance. Trend is all about how we're going, how we're progressing, what the pace is like. Like, oh, we were really bad, but we're getting better. The trend is heading up. Awesome. We could do that. We can also do root cause. We have a problem. Let's figure out why, what we can do to eliminate it, put some changes around it. Awesome. Now, also alternatives. We could do A, we could do B. They're going to do all this kind of like, thinking and white hatting, red hatting, whatever, against all these ideas. So that's what they're doing with alternates. What if analysis? They might say, what if this happened? What would happen to our results? So they're looking across all these different scenarios or methods of analysis to get a realization and aha. All right. We could also go deep into the details, the technical performance analysis, like, the welding statistics or welding results, the graphs that are going through here, all the drawings. Technically, we can go deep into that. Also, we could do EVA, earned value analysis. I love earned value management. Okay. It is fun. And so you should too. But what we're trying to do is put a numerical value against our performance. What is quantifiably our performance and our health of our project? We could do that type of analysis. Or we could look at reserve analysis. Remember in risk, we said the known, unknown risk, we have contingency reserves against those. How much of that money have we spent? How many risks have we realized? And the management reserves, unknown risk, how much of that have we spent? So we got to look at those. All those things bring understanding. Aha, we might say. Now, wait till you see the aha guy. Boom! That aha guy's like, I can't believe it. You guys figured this stuff out. So the work performance information, that's what we're trying to get through. Now, it seems boring, but think about that guy. He's pumped for this work performance information because what does it create? It creates understanding. All right. And what are we trying to do through this whole project? Bring alignment to reality about what's happening, what we're delivering. And this is that bridge. This is that feedback loop that's going to help us get there. Now, what I need you to think about is if you ran a project, would you have each one of these people who did this realization, those individual guys like that right there in the middle doing the analysis with the charts and stuff, would you want them to go out and email their findings excitedly or pessimistically to the world? To the stakeholders, to the team, to the sponsor, to the whatever. You want all these chickens going out shooting stuff? No, you do not, because it doesn't tell you the big picture, right? And it's not a controlled story that's leading people in a direction that we need to lead them. So we take that information and we use it. We could also have change requests that will be dealt with later, but that information as we talk about, this is what's happening from a high level. We're taking that data in. If you go back to every ITO, you're going to see the same pattern. I am visualizing something for you that you'll never have a problem with again. You're going to go back and you go like, oh my God, now I see it. When you go back to every single control or monitoring process in the monitoring controlling process group, you're going to see data on the input. You're going to see different kinds of analysis, and you're going to see as the key output information. Now, you might see different kinds of analysis in there, and think about those like genes. Now, I'm not a gene expert, obviously, and I'm not talking about Levi's. I'm talking about the things in your body, right? So you have all those different methods of analysis. What we're doing here is different one of these, like the control cost versus schedule versus scope guys, they're going to use different ones of those analysis techniques. So what you got to do is just go down there and say, okay, Mr. Cost Analyzer guy, which ones are you using? Oh, earned value analysis makes sense. Variance analysis, I can see why that would be useful. Trend and reserve, that's money related. Okay, I can dig it. And so you're going to look that way. Really going to help you understand it at a deeper level. Okay, so understand that flow with it. It's not a flow as we see it here. Okay, so now let's re-baseline where we are right now. We got the data. They did the analysis. We got the aha guy to get information. Now, we don't want everybody sending it out. We got to bring all this stuff together because cost might be bad, schedule might be okay, quality might be in the middle. Everybody might be everywhere as far as these things. We need to bring it to monitoring and controlling project work. This guy up here, this guy is our grand synthesizer. See him in your brain. He's the guy that's putting all the information together, mixing it around, looking at the big picture, looking at how we've done, how we project to do in the future, how we're doing now. He's mixing it all together. That's why I put this crazy scientist looking synthesizer guy in here with this little, I think it's an Erlenmeyer flask. I'm not sure, but it's in there. It's got smoke. They're doing some work. They're thinking about things. What he's doing is he's putting together this big report that summarizes how we're doing. This isn't a one-time thing. This is an every week or whatever thing, okay? Where we're saying, ooh, this is the narrative about how we're doing. We're doing well, we're not doing well, and here's how we're going to tell the story and keep people informed. Because what are we trying to do? Create alignment and drive people to the actions that we want them to take to support us in delivering the goodness that we're going to deliver through this project. So this grand synthesizer man with his crazy hair is super important to bring all that information together, put it into a report. Beautiful. Now, you want that guy sending off that email and doing the details? Probably not. He's good at what he does. He's a grand synthesizer. He's not a grand communicator, okay? Now, what we do is we take that report and we put it down to communications back in the executing process group. That's cool. And that managed communications is where the actual communications go out to the world, right? To our project world. All right, and so based on this, the communication management plan, the stakeholder engagement plans, different people need different information at different frequency and quantities and stuff. This communication department, you probably got a communication department in your company. That's what they do. They parse up the information, they play it out, they send it out, they make sure the emails have been sent, the SharePoints have been updated, all the documents have been updated, all right? And then they get it out there. Maybe the sponsor wants all the information, or maybe he just wants the summary. Or maybe he just wants a little briefing, whatever. All the team wants certain things. This key stakeholder wants something else. They go out there and they package it and send it out. Now, don't want to tell you anything you don't already know, but the guys that read the news on the news, they don't actually write the news. They just read the news. They package the news. They send it out. That's how it goes. That's what's happening here. The grand synthesizer packages the information that's done by the deep analyzer guys, and it all flows together. That's how we keep alignment. This one is my favorite. It's the overall favorite for me. I love this one. And not only the flows, the wraparoundness, but the iterative nature of how we're driving alignment and engagement. Love it. All right. Last one, change. Change is giant. How we manage it, helps us understand whether we're going to be successful or not. Okay. And so there's a line in all these processes, and it's right there, okay? Now, to the left of the line, no change request needed. Why? Because we don't have a baseline yet. Now, once we get those baselines, we jump over that line to the executing part, and we got to do a change request because we put those lines in concrete, right? And we're going to nail them down, and we got to have a change request when we want to mess around or modify that overall baseline. Okay, we have changes, improvements. It could be good things. See all these processes to the right of that red line where we have baselines? Any one of those processes, that's why I put them yellow, has the right, obligation, and authority to say, I got an idea, I found a problem, we can do this better, or this is gonna hurt us. I got a change request. They have the right, obligation, and authority to put that change request out there. They do not have the right, obligation, and authority to just steer the ship to the other direction, to start doing work differently, to change big things. They do not. PMI's fairly or detailed, really specific on this. Okay, guys? So all those people can say, I'm going to write it down objectively, disciplinedly, and I'm going to put it in a change request. Awesome. That's going to make my case for what I want. Then that flows up to up there where I put red, integrated change control. That's where we have this change control board. It's going to evaluate what we wrote down, and it's going to make a decision. Yes or no. Okay? We're either going with it or not. If we're not, keep people informed. Hey, we're not going to go your direction with the change request. This is why. Keep your head up. All right? If we do, what's going to happen? Change has to cascade through the project, right? So which processes would be updated? Let's think about that. All right? Now, right off the bat, the approved change request, check. We signed it and put the stamp on it. It's all good. It goes back to executing to that heart process, that direct and managed project work. That's the factory of factories. A lot of stuff emanates from that, if we think about it. The deliverables, the data, the approved change request goes back to it. Why? Because those are the people that are doing the work, right? So our sheet of music, what they're singing off of to do their work, has to change. And so the way they do the work changed. Maybe we're using a different material. Maybe we're doing a different process. Maybe we're doing steps in a different order. Whatever. Their process has to change. Their schedule has to change. Now, additionally, the scope baseline's changing. The schedule baseline changing. The cost baseline needs to be updated as well in planning based on what the change request impacts, the approved one. All right. So that's the change flow. All those things in yellow can produce a change. Everybody's got an opinion and they want to use it and they want to find a different way. Now, when we do this analysis, we want to do disciplined analysis right off the bat. We find a problem, go down, find the root cause, then put a change request in. It goes through the process. If it's approved, update everything. We're rocking and rolling. Okay. That's the way we're doing things here. Now, those are the 7 processes, guys. That's it. That simplifies the PMP. Now, how do you use this information? It's fun to know. It's great for a cocktail party. I get it. That's fun. I've made you popular. Awesome. But more importantly, I want you to visualize these processes. I want you to see how PMI has laid out all these processes logically to show you how work on a project is done, to drive alignment, to drive your projects to produce greatness. Okay? Now, as we go deeper and we start studying the processes, we don't want to go in and start to memorize all the IDOs and outputs and tools and techniques and stuff. You know that's not my game. That's not going to help you. You want to understand logically how it flows through. Then as you look through questions, you want to identify which flow am I in? Where am I? Am I in this change flow? Is it pre or post submitting the change request? Where am I? So when you know where you are, you can say, I know what I should be doing because we've walked through the flow. I know what should be done, and I know what's going to happen next. And you know what all these situation questions ask you? Where are you? What should you be doing? What should you have done? What should you do next? What did you mess up in the past? That's all they ask you. So you think this way, you get your brain thinking the way the PMP questions want to. And honestly, makes you a better project manager. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. All right. So that's the big game here. When you go through questions, use the flows, find where you are, think through the logic. If you can't get the details, beautiful, beautiful. Go back, look at it. Now go into the details of a specific process that you don't understand. And you've identified that. They've given you that, that grace to be able to go back and understand that that is what I need to learn now. Then go back into the IDO. Ask yourself, why are we putting these components in? How does it flow in? Where do these details go to the next process? All those details. So be pulled into learning by using these flows while you take questions. You're going to be successful if you do that. It's been fun. I've enjoyed this. Reach out to me if you need help. Obviously, subscribe and do all that jazz. Hit the notification button, blah, 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 on the podcast and YouTube. And then if you want to talk to me or my coaches or anything else, all you got to do is reach out, Scott@PMMasterPrep.com, or phone number 757-759-5282. I get calls every day, so test me. Or just come to the website, submit an application to the accelerator. That just gets us involved and has a conversation, because if you want to get help, we want to help you. Simple as that. Talk to you later. You're going to do great. Follow the process. Adios.